Day is right here before Christmas, and I'm going to apologize for not being available earlier last Sunday night. Let me scoot that back a little bit. And I had the kids. They weren't feeling good or whatnot, so I lay down, took a nap, and yeah, I missed it. So no excuses, but that's how it rolls. But we are live now, and we're going to talk about baits that you've kind of forgot about. I forgot about. That a lot of times we don't use because we feel there's something better in that category or more available. So that's how this is going to be. But we'll talk about a few things. I'll answer some questions and answers, and I'll answer some questions, and you guys wait. I'll give you some answers. You guys ask the questions. It's been a long week, so let me share this over on my Facebook page real quick, and we will get going. Got a new episode of Baitman Raw. I'm going to try to get done probably this afternoon. If not, I'll get it finished up tomorrow and I'll get it posted. I got Lee Livesey, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro. Lee's from Texas. He throws big swim baits. He's sponsored by NetBait, Hog Farmer, and I really want to ask him a lot of questions about the Elite Series, but more importantly, we're going to talk a lot about baits and fishing and trying to go for the big bite and stuff like that. If you didn't see his fish catch at St. John's River last year with the boat docks, probably one of the best fish catches you'll ever see. Is unreal. Really good dude, man. He's from Lake Fork, so I've got to be very careful what I say there. I can't tell him anything about Lake Fork because it would violate the bass off limits, but he can tell you guys all you want to know. So, all right, just a second. Let me get this loaded into Facebook. If you guys didn't know, today is like the last day of the 6 cents Christmas sale, the 12 days of Christmas. And if you haven't had a chance to grab any of these guys right here, this is the Curve 55. This thing right here, they are 15% off today. So any colors of these right here, this is a sweet little winter crankbait, springtime crankbait. That's the Curve 55. This is a new color. They just rolled out with a month or two ago. Natural crawl. It's kind of got that green, brown back to it. Yeah, y'all like that. Great crankbait. One of their most popular crankbaits they got. 15% off the Curve 55s. I personally would recommend Muddy Water Crawl. That's the chartreuse and a red crawl. That's a good one. And their shad patterns work really good. This one right here, this one is Ghost Table Rock Shad. I don't know if you can see that through the package. That one is available, and it's 15% off for the rest of today. I think there's a code available. You can look on my Instagram and others. I know Ben Milliken's been posting about it, but probably one of the best little crankbaits they got. Runs about 8 feet and catches a lot of fish. Great bait this time of year and into the spring. Also, I'm going to let you guys know I've got a code. If you want to save some money on the 6 cents premium subscription box, I can save you $10. I think the code is Baitman sub 6. I'd have to double check it on my phone. I'll put a link in the description of the video, but that box right there, you can get it monthly. Let's answer a few questions here. All right, seen the Googans trying to copy Jaints juice. Well, chartreuse and purple, it's going to be out there. It's a popular color. I'm not going to say they copied it. It's actually probably the only color they got. I think that looks decent. But, it's hard to say someone copied chartreuse powder blue because everybody's got it. But, man, I'll be honest, they're hard baits. The colors do not look that good in person. So when I'm talking about forgotten baits, I don't mean like helicopter lure, flying lure, and stuff like that. Those are really made for TV baits. They're forgotten because they don't work. People don't catch fish on it. Now, and then I also let some people want to. I think there's a difference between forgotten and underrated. Underrated bait would be like a rattle trap, for example. A lot of guys throw the Quake and they throw red eye shad and all kinds of other lipless baits, but a rattle trap is not forgotten about because guys use it, but I feel it's really underrated. You know, so that's a whole different discussion to begin with, and I like doing lists and stuff. You know, I saw someone else talk about the most influential baits of the last decade. That was a cool topic. For the most part, I agreed, but I don't think you can put the chatterbait in there because it come in like 2004. And it's been really popular ever since. It's not like the jackhammer just come out and all of a sudden everybody's buying chatterbaits. Man, people were buying them for a long, long time, and people have been making rods and stuff chatterbaits way back then. But I guess now that the jackhammer's really caught on fire, everybody has really jumped on that train, and that's okay. But I'll tell you right now, I don't think there's too many baits out there that have been more influential than a Kitek, swim bait. Look at all the people that's knocked that thing off. So, all right, so we'll see how many people we got in here, and you guys ask some questions or whatnot. And I'm not used to streaming on a Sunday afternoon. It's very different even for me. I'm used to streaming like on Saturday nights and everything, but we'll talk. We'll start with hard baits, and then we'll get into soft plastics. And remember, this is just the baits I forgot about. You may have some that you forgot about, and that's okay. Dude, hog collar spinner baits were really, really good. And I actually do like the Jason Christie spinner baits. I'm going to have to order some. They look really good. There's nothing wrong with not throwing a chatterbait. It's a good bait, but it's not for everybody. Just like there's a lot of baits I don't throw. I'm not a big frog guy. I love throwing frogs, but something I just don't throw a lot. That's different from forgotten. That's just, I don't want to do it, So make sure you guys smash that like button for me and everything. Share the video. We're going to try to get I'm going to have a giveaway. I'm going to stream Christmas Eve about 7, 8 o'clock. I got a giant package from 6 Cents coming. Got all the colors, the new plastics, the styles of plastic, some new Quake colors. Get Baitman Jr. on here. It's like $1,000 worth of stuff. And I'm going to put together a huge giveaway for New Year's. I'm going to throw stuff in there from 6 Cents, from Hog Farmer, from all the people that's helped me out. And it's going to be awesome. So, somebody's going to walk away with, $500 of fishing gear. So, no, that is not a G for Guggen Squad. That's a 6 for 6 cents. You won't ever see me in any Guggen Squad stuff. But anyway, let's get this party started. So we'll talk about the bait that, if you're watching on Instagram, I posted to kind of tease this video. And that is a DD. We'll just start at hard baits and go from there. And that is a DD 22. So if you guys don't know, this is the OG, the godfather of deep crankbaits. Now, will this thing go 22 foot? Absolutely not. It'll go about 14 to 15 feet on a good day on 10-pound test line. This is a color I used to use all the time. It's something baby bass, but they always put these little lateral lines on their baits, and I really like that. And this was always a real popular color. This is like a Texas shad. It's kind of a silverback, a little pink in the middle, and that white. This was a winter color. I threw this a lot in the winter years. Back before 6 Cents and the 6XD and all that stuff, guys threw these DD22s. And they're really good baits. And one thing I did like about them is like this one right here. You can see that? That's a suspend model. And oh yeah, this was like one of the first chartreuse purple baits I threw. And this one, they got the color right on this. It is hard to beat this one. They even put the blue flake in the purple, which made it even more awesome. But I really like these suspend, and the reason why is because in these cold winter months when I would throw these things, you could throw these and bang stuff off the bottom, and you just let them stop. and just count to 5 or 6 like a jerkbait. And a lot of times those fish would follow it. And when you're cranking brush and stuff, which I like to do with this bait in the winter, you hit that brush and you just let it stop and sit there, and fish will grab it. But that DD22, man, that is an OG, and they still make them. All the ones I got here are pre-Pradco. These were all original Norman lures, and I don't know if the Pradco ones run any better or worse. I haven't bought any. I have bought some Norman Fat Boys, which is a really good crankbait, and I don't know where they're at. I searched high the other day for them, but DD22 or the DD14, a lot of people forget about the 14, which is kind of in between the deep little end and this one. So someone said I missed the Excalibur crankbaits. I personally will tell you this bait, this is a Bomber fat-free shad, is definitely forgot about. So they made several models in the fat-free shad. They made a fat-free fingerling, which you'll see that in a little bit. But fat-free shad, another OG deep crankbait. This one casts a lot better, in my opinion, than the DD22. That was one negative knock on that DD22. It didn't cast very good. But this guy right here, fat-free shad, they made a switchback shad, and I wish I could find some. You could actually like flip the crankbait upside down and some stuff, and this ball would get stuck at the end, and it would make it go silent. Well, me personally, I just put it at the end because it made it cast like a freaking bullet. But fat-free shad has a really wide wobble, and it pulls pretty easy. It catches them right now. This is a good deep crankbait. This is the BDS 6. This one only goes about 15 to 16 foot, and they made a 7 or 8 that gets down there that 20-foot range. So remember Timmy Horton killing him on this thing on Kentucky Lake. So this is one I think a lot of guys forget about too. You know, everybody likes to Spro, Little John, and all that stuff. Little John's an excellent bait, but guys really forget about this one right here. This is the deep. And this goes about 15 feet, and this is a nasty crankbait. Not a lot of people make a deep running flat side. Spro does, and this thing is really good late winter pre-spawn, fishing a little bit deeper for those staging females. This is awesome. Compare a 300 DD fat-free shad and 6XD side by side. Well, let's see if I got a bunch of that stuff. So that's a good one. I do have this one right here, and this is an OG bait right here. Now, I've told a good story about this one right here. If I can get this unhung. This is as old school as it gets, and it's definitely forgotten about. This is the Pose 400. This kind of started the deep crankbait revolution, especially the wooden ones. There's a big story behind this bait right here. This was my dad's, and me and him caught a giant stringer on Kentucky Lake on this exact bait when I was about 8 years old. And I've kept it ever since. I will never sell it. But that Post 400, Post 500 cedarwood baits, dude, they absolutely hammered them. Now everyone's gone silent crankbaits, but you know that Pose, it's silent. It's silent. So, all right, let's see if I can get a 6XD out here. I'm sure I got one somewhere. Yeah. So this would be your new school 6XD. Obviously, this one has been used. And then you look at, we'll compare it here to the Norman. Obviously, the Norman's got a lot fatter body to it. You look at the bill, Norman has a longer bill. It's narrower, where 6XD's got a lot wider up here. The bill on a 6XD is also quite a bit thinner. I don't know if you guys can tell that from that. But 6XD's got a thinner bill. It is just hard to beat a 6XD. It's a really, really good bait. It just catches fish. And then get that fat-free shad out. We'll compare it. So traditionally, really, just from looking at these, again, fat-free shad, Very similar style body. Very a little bit more squared off, if you can't tell. And we'll look at the bill. The bills are very similar in a way, where you see the fat-free shad kind of goes at an angle then curves, whereas the 6XD's got more of a curved bill all the way around. But the body size is very similar. Both medium, not quite flat, more roundness to them. So there's you a quick comparison. I wish I had a Crush 300 from 6 cents. I pretty much have all the cloud baits. I don't throw the Crushes very much. Let me put these back so I don't get hooks everywhere. Put this guy up here because that's kind of antique. Don't want to lose it. Let's see here. I just repainted some Pose a week ago. Yeah, guys. I will tell you guys. There's a guy on here, Heavy Sack Custom Rods. He's been sending me a lot of photos of some crankbaits he's repainted in OG colors. Check him out on Facebook. Go ahead, Heavy Sack. Put your Facebook page on there so guys can get in contact with him, because he repaints a lot of really, really good stuff. So yeah, I got to work tonight, so I'm just hanging out. We're talking. And I think my kids are going to some kind of Christmas thing. I couldn't go because I'm going to have to get some rest. All right. So let's keep rolling on with what we got. I'm just going through some boxes right here. We'll stick to some crankbaits. And we'll stick in the Norman category. And this is one of my favorites right here. This is the deep little N, and I got a couple colors I really like. This was the root beer baby bass deep little N. I caught so many fish on this thing right here. Again, it has that lateral line, but my Kentucky Barkley guys know that root beer color always was really good in the spring. Well, I throw this thing a lot in the fall, but one of the best running mid-depth crankbaits you'll ever find. I know lots of guys that really like the deep little N. It's just a really good bait. Doesn't pull hard. It casts well. You can really, in that 8 to 10 foot of water range, it's really hard to beat. And then this was the brother to that bait. If I can get it out. This is a color called Mountain Dew. So you have, let me find the regular root beer one. So Norman made root beer, which has that white belly on it. And then they made Mountain Dew. Obviously, when the water was a little bit dirtier, I'd go to this one, or I'd throw root beer. But these are ugly colors, but man, the fish absolutely eat these things. I caught a lot of smallmouth on that color right there. But the deep little N, very good bait. Definitely forgotten about. We got so many crankbaits out there, 5XD and all that stuff. Speaking of Strike King, this is the one that, this is the Strike King root beer, and this is the I believe this is a Series 4 or Series 5. A lot of guys throw the 5XD and the 6XD, but everybody forgets the Series 5. And I was told by Strike King that more guys throw the, or more pros order the Series 5 than any other crankbait they make. So Series 5 definitely has a wider wobble to it. It pulls very easy and got that sound to it. A lot of guys really like that. I wish I had some Bagleys. Here's another fat-free shad. This is a smaller version of them. That's the old one. Look at all that flake in there. That's a really good bait. Guys forget all about it. But these old Strike King colors, man, this one was really good. And it's nothing crazy. But this is kind of a chartreuse and white color. But you see those metal flake scales? That was made specially for Series 4, Series 5 crankbaits. Those are really good. What's up, Aaron? Bagleys, I think, are old. And I don't think they're forgotten. I think a lot of guys throw Bagleys, but I think a lot of people collect Bagleys. Because I'm going to be honest, no one really buys the new stuff anymore. Everybody wants the old stuff, and I think they want the old stuff because they want to collect it and flip it. And I'm not so sure about fishing it. I do know some guys do throw them. Let's see what else I got that I feel a lot of people forgot. And this one should be simple. Got a little box here with some jerk baits in it. Here's an old school one. This one's worth some money. The Rogue. This is a Smithwick Rogue. This is the old school Mark Menendez signature one. So many good jerk baits out there, but so many people forget about just the Rogue. $5.99 and catches a ton of fish. A lot of the best jerkbait fishermen I know swear by the Rogue, not a Mega Bass or a 6 Cents or anything. And that's no offense to them because they definitely catch fish, but they say cold water, late spring, Rogue catches them. And then a lot of guys throw this one right here. This is old school. This is the big Super Rogue, which is a lot bigger bait than the one I just had in my hand, which is just a rattling suspended Rogue. So you got, this is the regular size, and this is the big Rogue. So that one's old, man. That old Fire Tiger color, that was a dirty water jerkbait. A lot of guys really like. Here's one everybody's forgot about, but for the wrong reason. Here's a Livingston jerkbait. You know why people forgot about this thing? It's because they freaking suck. So definitely just forget about Livingston. Here's an old Pro Rogue that I had custom painted up. This one's pretty cool, actually. If I can get it undone. I want to show you this because there's something on this bait a lot of guys have forgot about as well. So this was painted by Tim Hughes out in Missouri. But this is the big Rogue, and you'll notice I've got suspend strips on this thing. So it came as a floating bait originally, and I put this in a bathtub at water about 55 degrees, and I suspended it. But what's cool about this bait is, I don't know if y'all can see that. Those hooks, those are the old Excalibur rotating treble hooks. And dude, if you can find these, definitely get some of these treble hooks. They are the sharpest freaking things ever. They're great for jerk baits. They're great for traps. Really, really good ones. So that's some jerk baits. Let's see what else we got up in here. Oh yeah, we got a little top water. We got a little top water. The one thing I liked about those trebles, Jeremy, is they did not rust. They were really, really good and stayed sharp. So if we got any top waters anybody's forgot about, absolutely. How about just the regular Super Spook? This is the Hedden Czar Spook, and you'll notice there's a little signature on there by a guy named Zell Rowland. Great bait. Again, it's got those Excalibur treble hooks on here. This one's broken in the back, but this bait was really, really good. Just the normal spook. I feel so many guys throw them. This is a fish catcher right here. This is the saltwater Super Spook. You know, Brent Anderson has won so much money on this bait right here. This has won a ton of money on Kentucky Lake. I mean, guys throw all kinds of crazy topwaters now. Shower blows and vixens and repo man and all this stuff. Dude, when it comes to just an OG topwater that catches fish, a bone Super Spook will get it done. And that's, you know, let's not say anything other ones. Here's a big old Super Spook right here, and it's even bigger than that Super Spook. Do a little bait comparison right here. This one's just a few millimeters bigger. This is the Jimmy Houston Super Spook, and this one catches them. That's just a big, I think it's like a thread fin color. But dude, the old Excalibur ones are really, really good. Not the Pro Series and the Black Package, but Excalibur made baits before the One Knocker and stuff. But old spooks, man, they just catch fish. And let's see if I got any top waters in here, man. I feel this bait right here is forgot about quite a bit. But some guys may disagree. That's the Gunfish. The old Gunfish 95. One of my favorite top waters ever. In fact, I actually like the 115 even better. This dude's went to war. I don't know if y'all can tell, but he's got teeth marks all over him. I've got to fix a treble hook that's broken. I actually had to cut the hook to get out of a fish's mouth. The Gunfish 115, dude, this thing casts like a freaking bullet. One of the best schooling fish topwaters ever made, I believe, is the Gunfish 115. Again, some of these topwater baits, no one throws them anymore. Someone mentioned a Popar P70. I don't think the Popar P70 is really forgotten about. I think a lot of guys know about it. It's just they're kind of hard to get. So there's a difference between forgotten and hard to get. And this is a P70 right here. It's a really big Popar. So you look at that side, maybe I'm so unorganized. I gotta get some of those owner hook protectors, but this is like a Rico. Definitely not a forgotten about bait, but you look at that P70 compared to the Rico, that P70 is huge. So what I'll do is you'll take this lip and sand it down a little bit, and this thing will walk back and forth. So I just watched a Scott Martin video where he hollows out plastics and puts Alka-Seltzer in them so it bubbles and fizzes. Yeah, I heard about that. You know, like 15 years ago, people were doing that in tubes and stuff. I've never once seen a pro guy legitimately do that in a tournament. So that don't mean it don't work. I'm not going to get into it. Who am I to tell Scott Martin he's full of shit? But he's obviously caught more fish than me and won more money. But sometimes we make videos just to get the clicks. But I know people used to put foam up in their tubes and stuff. But man, I think that shit's gimmicky. Just like there's a bait ball you can buy that you throw out in the water, and I think I have one here somewhere, and it like fizzes and with Shad scent, and oh man, come on, seriously. But again, who am I to tell you that Scott Martin's full of shit? Let's see how much of the fizzing baits he uses fishing the bass opens. We'll put it that way. Do like the spitting image. I wish I had some. That's a great one. Yeah, a lot of guys put the earplug in the tube. That's a good trick on a Carolina rig. I will agree with that, and I've seen guys do that. So here's my Bagley guy. We'll talk about some more crankbaits. Man, this whole box I've got, I found this one. This is all like DD22s and stuff. Let's be honest. Who's got a bunch of these big, deep planos? That's definitely forgotten about. I mean, I love my Bass Mafia stuff, but man, these big planos were the deal back in the day. Oh man, y'all gonna like this one too. You know I love me some crankbaits. God, like I found a Bagley, and this is a diving B3. This is one a lot of guys like. I think this is a newer one. It's not the old one, but very simple color here. Chartreuse and black. A lot of guys really like that one right there. But this is a OG. This is one a lot of guys forget for deep divers. This ain't going to go about 12 foot, but it's got a really big body for a 12-foot diver, and it definitely catches a lot of fish. I've not caught many on it because I don't throw it very often. But can't argue about the Bagley. I don't think, like I said, I don't think guys are buying the new stuff like they used to buy these older ones. Oh my gosh. Look at here. Some of the guys know about this. This is a Bomber. I believe it's a 7A. It's a really long one. It's not a long A. Long A is a jerkbait, but I believe that's a Bomber 7 or 6A. This is OG. I don't even throw these, but a lot of guys trolling. They troll the crap out of these things for sauger. And those guys on Eastern Kentucky really like this bait as well. This is old school, just pearl red eyes. They used to make a color called smallmouth that was really killer. Let's see here. Yeah, here's the crankbait I really want to show you guys. This was one of those OG super deep crankbaits. And it was really made for crank and brush. This is a hot lips. And look how unique this bill is right here. This was made for cranking really deep and deflecting off brush, hence this really crazy lip. But man, these fish catch them. In fact, the U.S. Open was won like 2 years ago on this bait right here on Lake Mead, cranking deep brush piles. I think it was Sean Bailey who was using this, and it was pretty awesome. But one thing that's cool about this bait is it is super loud. And this was made by Lure Jensen. This is the Hot Lips Express, and cool bait. If you're a fan of his speed trap, this is the super deep brother to it. Definitely crazy, unique action. This is the craziest bill ever. And you would think, man, this thing's a gimmick. But, man, it's won a lot of money, and it's definitely one of those that guys don't talk about. I'm not so sure if it's forgotten, but it's definitely doesn't show up on the radar very often. But it does catch them. There's some good freaking colors in here. This was such a popular color right here in the DD22. Just like a chartreuse coach dog. And that's one thing about Norman, man. They made some excellent freaking colors. They were kind of the Sixth Sense of their time. I don't even know what that is. There's a DD14. So you can definitely tell that DD14 has the 22 size body and it's got that short stubby lip. This is a really good one. This was a color that was always popular, just a powder blue, a little orange belly, kind of come off like a sunfish. Guys really like that. Man. And you can definitely find pre-Pradco D22s and deep little ends and all that stuff. They're all over the place. I mean, there's tackle stores that still got tons of them. So, all right, what else we got? That's jigs. Is it too... Can I call a pack-a-craw forgotten bait? Because I feel like it is. Oh, man. What are you here? Here we go. Look here. Deep tiny end. Or deep... I think this is the deep baby end. So this is a great river bait. So many guys that fish the Ohio River and the Cumberland and the Tennessee and the small waterways, they love this thing right here. This is just a really small crankbait. It's the deep baby end. Excellent bait. A very good bait. This one is, I won't say it's, I don't know. It might be forgotten about, but we'll just put all Norman crankbaits in the forgotten about category. Yes. Here you go, Trey Lawrence. This is a man's baby 1 minus. One of the original wake baits. Wake baits are real popular, but guys really like putting some big mono on these things right here and rolling these things across the top of the water. Got me a little old school blue gill one. And then right there, that's just a little gray ghost like. These are old as sin, man. These are good baits. Yes, they actually make the Norman suspends in a 14 and 22. And I think they even made a deep little end that were suspend. Looky here. Here's another one of those deep baby ends. This was a good color. Like I said, everyone liked that powder blue, silver, and orange. Norman did a lot of good stuff with that metal flake. Best pond fishing bait I've ever used right here. This is just a little bomber. I think that's a 3A and baby bass. And man, you were talking about slaying some pond bass. Dude, this guy right here just caught them. I read an article in Bassmaster when I was about 9, 10 years old, and it was talking about baby bass crankbaits in pond were amazing. So I went and bought some of these, and man, I slayed them in farm ponds on this bait right here. For some reason, it just got bit, and I always keep a few. But now, you know, we forget we want to try all these crazy new crankbaits and new stuff, and you get really simple. Just a little baby bass crankbait, it will slay them. Deep baby ends and root beer and chartreuse, man, those are good ones. I'm looking for a guy is wanting some deep, tiny ends for river fishing, and they're little bitty, but man, they slay. Let's see what we got in here. Fat-free guppy. Oh yeah. So I saw a Facebook post the other day, and it's kind of funny. A guy said, "Why doesn't anyone throw these baits? Everyone's into realistic baits. Why doesn't anybody use these guys anymore? This is the most realistic crankbait, and I've caught more fish on this than anything. All the other stuff's overrated." Dude, this thing is old school, and this is the Rebel Crawl, and they made a big one. You know, I've got two of the big ones, and these are the original ones. You notice how faded the bills are, but this is when my dad used to take me fishing when I was really young in the spring. He threw the snot out of these things, and we caught fish. And then they made a little medium size, but this was kind of like the live target of the Rebel division, was these Rebel crank and crawls, and they made a grasshopper and all kinds of stuff. But then you got these really, really small ones. This is a real small one with a pretty long bill on it. And then this is an even smaller Rebel crawl. Look, these things are tiny. Dude, you can still slay smallmouth with these things right here. These are great little finesse crankbaits. Almost like the Ned rig of cranking right here. Oh my God, look at this piece of junk. This is some kind of storm cranking shad. I don't know if... It looks like something Boyd Duckett would copy right there. I did this when I was about Baitman's junior age. I said, hey, I'm going to custom paint a crankbait, so let me put some sparkles on it. Yeah, totally ruined that bait. But those baits do catch fish, and, you know. Now let's get in this old school jig box I got down here. Speaking of old school, who's forgot about the Falcon FTO boxes? Man, these things were good. And they go for big money if you find these. Well, I also just forgot there's a freaking brown recluse in here. Let's see what we got in this jig box. We might got some old school forgotten about jigs in here. Oh yeah, first thing. The old Joel Akins jig. Kind of really started off that whole finesse jig thing. It's got the little collar there, a round ball head. Really good jig. They had a little Akins crawl that went with it. So for really the first mainstream finesse jig. Everyone's got so many out there. Guys forget. There's a certain jig I really want to find, and I may not can find it in here. It's a flipping jig. Man, there's a bunch of crazy stuff in here. Mostly, I thought I had a flipping box, but I guess it's all football. Here's an old school Omega football jig. Those still work really, really good. Here's another. This is another finesse jig. I don't know if this is Akins. I don't know who makes this, but it's got a double wire weed guard right there, which I really like. I like that skirt with the tinsel. I forgot I had this box. I got this over at my parents' house, so there's no telling what I might find in here. Definitely didn't get the right box because I'm missing my flipping jigs. Huh. But this is an old school Stanley casting jig with that O'Shaughnessy hook. This is kind of what started that Dirty Jigs, Luke Clawson casting jig. Dude, when it was tough in the summertime, you'd put a big salty chunk on the back of this thing right here, and you'd stroke it up as high as you can and catch those suspending fish. Well, that's not a Picasso jig. I know that. I think it's some kind of hand tied, but I like the Aiken Spider jig. That was a really, really good one. But this old casting jig, it really started with the Stanley jig right here in this hook. Now the new Dirty Jigs one's kind of improved, better paint, and they put a keeper. But dude, the old Stanley casting jigs caught a many, many, many fish, and they still make them, and they're still good. Look at here. See if anybody remembers this. The skirt has fell off, but this is what I was looking for. You might know what that is, and it's one of the best freaking flipping jigs ever made. That right there is a lunker lure. It's not a triple rattleback. This is the ultimate rattling jig. So the rattles are shrink wrapped around here. You don't have a giant hook in there. But man, you want to skip a flipping jig, this is the best skipping flipping jig you'll ever find. But it didn't have a real long skirt to it. But man, this thing right here caught them. It's got the rattles shrink wrapped up in there. Uncle Josh pork rinds, I don't know if they're forgot. I don't think they're forgot about. I think they're discontinued. And guys, really wish they had some. I know I do. Dude, I used to put the pork rind on my jigs at night. That was my favorite thing, or my spinner baits. But man, I wish I could find some more of those ultimate rattling jigs. They're really hard to get. Huddleston, not a forgotten bait. It is definitely one of the most popular baits out there. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's do a little soft plastics. You guys want to talk about some soft plastics real quick? That's awesome, Nick. Let's talk about some soft plastics. I already took them out of the package to put them on this nice little dinner plate. Let's just get old school as heck. How many of you guys have forgot about this worm, the old gator tail worm? Oh, yeah. What kind of trailers do you use on jigs in the winter? Just depends on what jig I use. I'll use a small crawl that doesn't have crazy action, like a crawfather on a finesse jig. I use a packer crawl a lot. It's got a lot of action, but I'll use the smaller one. And a Zoom Super Chunk. That's probably one of my favorites this time of year. Can we talk about guys who only throw swim baits? Thoughts? Probably going to do that on a different episode, Bass Monkey Fishing, but I appreciate the question. We'll definitely talk about that when Lee Livesey and I do our podcast. But, dude, the gator tail worm, definitely forgot about. And I wish I had my dad's stuff. He had some of the Guido worms and the Ditto worms and the Producto worms. But believe it or not, if Rick Clunn won that St. John's event last year on a gator tail worm, and I had people message me or like, "What's a gator tail?" Well, this is a gator tail worm. Definitely different, not quite a ribbit tail, really thick right through here. This is a Florida staple. A lot of guys throw that in Florida, but my dad had tons of gator tail worms. Now I hardly pick one up. Let's see. Lipped Hellbenders. They were definitely hot back in the day. Definitely a really good one. I did pull the ultimate rattling jig. I was never a big fan of the Lunker Lure Rattleback jig. I've got some more jigs. I got a lot of stuff in my parents' house that's taking up room, and I've got to go grab it very soon. So, dude, touchdown worm. That's old school Darius. If I was going to do an old school bait video, that would be in there. Can you still look at the terminal coffin? Yes. I'll show you that in just a minute. I made a promise to a guy, said, show me your terminal coffin and how it's laid out. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. So this is my Bass Mafia terminal coffin. And I've got to put some stuff away in it. This is how I got mine laid out. It's nothing crazy. I got some tungsten weights up here. All my smaller, you know, like 1/8 to, I think those are 5/8 of an ounce. Then I got my heavier weights here. Obviously, I'm missing a lot of weights because I break off all the time. And then I've got my hooks. These are kind of my flipping hooks up here. You'll see we've got some screw locks. All these are owners. Zowire. And then I got some more, you know, my 5/0 extra wide gaps. And then I got my worm hooks down here. That's how I've got these organized. And then down here in these trays, if you can see, I've got some Carolina rig stuff, which I never use. Some tungsten drop shot weights. I got nail weights. I had some O-rings in here. Got some swivels, some drop shot weights. Got some peg stops. And then I kind of just cleared this out right here and just put random stuff in this. But that's my terminal box. I got another one I want to rig for just treble hooks and swim bait hooks. Really good box. I like it quite a bit. I'll put that with me anytime I go somewhere fishing. Ike says the Bomber Speed Shad is one of the best old baits. Cast like a potato chips. No Guggen heavy hammer hook. I've got one pack of Guggen baits, and it is the Bandito bug. And I've used them. It's not a bad bait. I actually don't mind their soft plastics, but they really pissed me off when they talked about all the research and design that went into their hard baits, and there was literally none. So, you know, if they just want to say, hey, we got some new baits, you know, whatever, cool. Don't tell me how hard you're working on your R&D when you're just copying people. I mean, their paint jobs really aren't copies, but they're nothing special. But we'll get back up into the soft plastics. One of my favorite big worms, the old Lucky Strike Baby Huey. This one has been a Tennessee River killer for a long time, but you see it's really long and it's segmented. It's not going to have the action phone that a ribbon tail worm is going to have, but when it gets really hot in the summer, it seems like the bass really like this worm because it doesn't do a whole lot. Great worm. Not a lot of companies are making a big paddle tail anymore. Everyone's kind of gone to the ribbon tail or the bullworm style worm, but this is an OG. I want to say it's forgotten about by a lot of people. Speaking of worms, who throws a 7-inch ribbon tail anymore? This is the old power worm. I mean old because this tail is actually glued to the body. Still has a power bait smell to it. Dan Bear didn't see the song out here crying that my Titans can't do jack. Man, I'm a Saints fan, but they weren't looking good at all. But, dude, 7-inch worms, forgotten about. When it gets really tough, 7-inch ringworm in the brush piles. Get you a lot, you know, 1/4 ounce, 5/16 ounce weight. Really downsize your line and throw that little 7-inch ringworm around in some brush piles out deep, or the 7-inch power worm, and you'll catch you some fish. Everyone's gone so big. It's really where the trend is really big, or we go really small for the Ned rig stuff. And a lot of guys forget about these. Dude, I had some Strike King iguanas. That was a great bait. I wish I had some of the Strike King Wild Things. That was the first one of those hybrid baits. It's kind of like this guy right here. This is the Lake Fork craw tube, and this is the first company that was really making the craw tube. Now Big Bite Baits and some other companies, Rains, make a craw tube. But this one right here, this used to be Kelly Jordan's go-to. He's won a lot of money punching mats with the craw tube, and that's a bluegill color. And that's the first one I ever threw and catch a lot of fish on this thing. Now Big Bite Baits makes craw tubes, which I really like. And they put some juice on these things, and they stink. And we'll just stick here with Lake Fork ring fry. Hello, my Arkansas guys, Carolina rig guys, they know about the power of the ring fry. But so many guys Carolina rigging creature baits and big worms, and you know the lizards forgot about. But the ring fry, holy smokes, this is an awesome wacky rig bait too, guys. you can wacky rig a ring fry on spinning gear, and you can slay fish. Really good for those cruising bass. So I did a video with Mike Iaconelli years ago, Classic Patterns of Finesse Fishing. He talked about using centipedes and putting a little bitty weight up there, and you'll throw it right in front of the fish. And it was basically a Nico rig before its time. And you could pull this bait up and let it fall back in front of them. Those bass love a ring fry, or anything. That's the Lake Fork ring fry, and they make a baby too. But oh man, they put that garlic on there. This thing works good. Who remembers one of the original creature baits? Definitely forgot about the Who Daddy. This is a Who Daddy Junior. I remember the first time I saw this thing in action, and the guy I was fishing with slayed him, and it was a BFL, and I had to go get me some, and I was throwing a brush hog, and he pulled out these Who Daddy Juniors and just killed them. A lot more bulkier profile, if you see, than creature baits today with those big rings up there. But one thing I like, that body's really small, and all you need is about a 3/0 hook in there, and you get them. You can flat get them on that Who Daddy Junior. But it's very slender profile, even though it's big, and it slides through cover very, very well. Speaking of small profile, we throw brush hogs and baby brush hogs. You guys forget about this bait. That is the Super Hog. I remember Andy Morgan was the first guy to win a big tournament on the Super Hog, punching this guy on Gunnersville. And what's cool about this bait, the Super Hog's got the same body as a brush hog, but the ass end is very small, and it is made for punching and flipping. And you can pull these apart right here. The one good thing about this bait is when you rig it up, you got all hook. So if you get bit, you're going to hook up. I got a buddy that swears by these on a Carolina rig. He crushes these things. But Super Hog, definitely forgot about in the creature bait family. Great flipping bait, but really good punching bait, because you can even take the arms off right here, which I'm going to do. I got a ton of these things, and you've basically got a crawl bait that can go right through the grass and not get hung up. It really does almost nothing but catch fish. So here's a bait that I've modified. This is a Gambler flapping tail shad, and you see I've got a Texas rigged hook in there, and I've got this where I took the tail, and you see what I've done with the tail here. It's normally a round tail, and I've cut a slit in it, so I've made like a speed tail in it. Why I did this is when those fish get up around shallow cover in the grass, and when I say grass, I mean like pond grass, bank grass. So we don't have milfoil in Kentucky Lake, but used to, when the water would get really high up and there'd be grass on the bank where it's somebody's yard or something like that, I would throw this bait, no weight on it, and I would reel it right at the surface, and it kind of made a little bit of a wake. And when I got by a bush or tree limb or whatnot, I would stop it and twitch it, and I caught a ton of fish on the flapping tail shad. It's just a really good bait, but I would always take my tail and make me a little cut like that, and you would get a little bit of extra vibration. You could buzz this thing out on the surface. A lot of guys went to a fluke style bait, which is great, but a fluke couldn't do what this bait could do right here. Striper guys love these flapping tail shads. It's actually it's a good bait. You can put them on an A-rig if you want to. You can fish them like a swim bait, but I like them high up in the water column like a swimming fluke. And speaking of Gambler, this was one of my favorite. Definitely, guys talk about horny toads and three-legged frogs and all kinds of soft plastic frogs. The Gambler cane toad is really freaking good. I've caught some really big fish on this, just putting an EWG hook on it and fishing up on top of the surface like a buzzbait. It's really good on the back of a buzzbait now, but I think guys really forgot about throwing the cane toad and other baits just by themselves like a buzzbait. But man, I love the cane toad. This is like a sprayed grass color, but what I really like, because it had this green belly to it. But caught a lot of fish on this, and they made a green pumpkin with silver swirl on it. It was my favorite. But cane toad is definitely a soft plastic frog that's great on a buzzbait or by itself. And I thought they come through grass better than a horny toad, but I really like those paddle tails on the back. Kind of like a flat Stanley top toad. And that one's definitely forgot about is the top toad. I don't have any. Yes, rig it vertical. So I'm not going to say this one's forgot about. This is Key Tech, Kai Tech, whatever. Crazy flapper. I think other than tactical bass, no one really talks about this bait. I've caught some really good fish on it. Now I fish this different. A lot of guys Texas rig it or put it on the back of a jig. And you can see you can really pull these appendages apart everywhere. I put this thing on a wobble head and I fish it on the bottom almost like a crankbait really fast. Man, a lot sucks today. And I do so much better putting this thing on a wobble head than I do anything else. But it's a really, really good bait and definitely underrated. I'm not going to say it's forgotten about. And then we got this guy, OG of the OGs, a freaking tube. This is about the only color tube I throw, and it's called Roadkill. Anybody on the Kentucky Lake, Tennessee River chain knows that this color slays. And the company that made this is Hook Some Bass. And if you remember the Hook Some Bass or Snoozers tubes, man, these things freaking slayed. But in the fall, I found that tube to be really, really good bait and just kind of forgot about it. You know, I'll throw lots of other soft plastics, but the tube is really good. Yeah, I don't think I should have put the crazy flapper in the forgotten about. I think it's just kind of in that not talked about because the guys that know about it. But I don't even know if the tube's really forgotten. I saw another YouTuber, and he's a cool dude. I like him, but he said the only people buying tubes are people that fish up north. I think that's false. I think a lot of guys in the South flip a tube, put it on a stupid tube head. Is the big time Ohio, Indiana thing. But more guys use a tube than just guys up north. It's not just a northern bait. It's a really freaking good bait. I used to like the Yamamoto flipping tubes, but man, one fish and they're done for. Super thin, but fish really like those things. And I don't know if guys, I don't know. Can we count this as forgotten? In the 5-inch Biffle bug? The Biffle bug, I think everyone's throwing all kinds of crazy baits on a Biffle head, but this was really the original Biffle bait. And a buddy of mine, what he likes to do, he stuffs glass rattles up in this thing, and he throws it out there on a really heavy Biffle head and runs along the bottom like a crankbait and catches a ton of fish. But Viber King tube is legit, man. Gambler flipping tube's really good. I know a pro. He's sponsored by Zoom. He texted me like 2 years ago and said, "How many Gambler flipping tubes do you have?" And I said, "This is what I got." And he's like, "Dude, that's the best flipping tube ever." That and a Reaction Innovations Boom Boom tube. See who remembers that one. That's a really good one. I would agree, Thomas. Pack of Craw isn't widely forgotten. I love the Pack of Craw. I'm a big net bait guy. I love this Pack of Slim. That's one of my favorites. But I think everyone's a Rage Craw and all kinds of stuff. A Rage Craw, a Beaver, and they're great baits. And there's not as many guys buying the Pack of Craws as they used to. But dude, that Pack of Craw, when it first came out, oh my gosh, the amount of pros buying those things, it was unreal. Yes, yeah, I like the Denny Breyer flipping tube. BPS tender tubes are really, really good. Yeah, I think NetBait as a whole is really it's not forgotten about, but very underrated company. They make so many good baits. The Mad Packer is good. The T-Mac, like, it's kind of weird, and I don't mean this bad at all. You know, Tim Little's talking about the NetBait T-Mac and how crazy it is and the underwater action. I'm like, dude, I've known about that thing for years, man. It was like the big trick worm out here everybody was using. It's a really good bait. It's kind of funny how stuff funnels from California here, and then now sometimes stuff starts on the Tennessee River and it floats over that way. So, yeah, dude, that it's a 15-inch C-Mac is a really good one. Heck yeah, Bass Bank Roberts, what's up, buddy? I think the bee bug is coming back. So if you guys don't know, NetBait acquired several other companies. So it's NetBait, Scumfrog, Snagproof, Halo Fishing, and Freedom Tackle will be all under one company roof. And so they're going to be able to distribute better to more people across the United States. They're going to revamp some colors in the frogs, rework some stuff. It's going to be really good, really interesting. Justin Sword's in charge of that, good buddy of mine. And Justin is a good dude for the fishing industry in general. So I'm really excited what's going on with NetBait and all that. And I'll be honest, I wish I had one here. Most underrated frog out there is the Snagproof Bobby's Perfect Frog. Period. I went to Guntersville and my boy Blake Hall absolutely smashed them on that thing. And everyone talks about Spro, which are great frogs, and all this other crazy amounts of frogs. And dude, the Bobby's Perfect Frog just slayed on the mats. Like, seriously, we tried tons of different things, and Green Pumpkin, Bobby's Perfect Frog, just everything. Now, I'm not a good mat fisherman, so some of it's probably me, but dude, there's 3 guys in the boat, and the guys that were throwing that frog were catching them. So, wish I had one, but I had to give Blake his back. Let's see. I got so much stuff I can go through, but I got to work midnight tonight. Let me see if I got a forgotten about swim bait over here or something. Oh yeah, I definitely do. Let's get over here. Well, I don't know if I can get it out. No, I can't get it out. I'm gonna spill a bunch of stuff. So, just I think we all know what it looks like, but a Bass Tricks is definitely forgotten about. So, I'm not gonna bore you guys too much. There's so many things we could go over and so many baits that we could talk about. I just don't have time. I've got to get with Mr. Livesey and do some other stuff. So I'm going to jump off here. Seen some people get the Axis prototype bait in their December box. What are your thoughts? Man, I don't know. I didn't know people were getting the Axis in their box. It's interesting. But I got one right next to me. But guys, I'm going to jump off here. Look for some Baitman Raw. Don't forget Christmas Eve. We're going to get on here. Block tackle, I'd like about a 4/0 heavy duty one for that. So, Victor, I've been over the post crankbait. I don't have any sluggos, but definitely forgot about. So, I'm going to jump off here. I got to get ready for work and do some other things. Got to make a thumbnail and all that cool stuff. So, I appreciate you guys jumping on here on a Sunday. I think we got like 100 viewers or whatnot. And I apologize about last night. But I got to take care of the kids. That's how it is. And look for some more stuff coming up on here. So you guys have a good day. And make sure you like the video. Smash the thumbs up button. And guys, have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then.